Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
What is up, everyone? Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NCAA edition, Week 2 preview and picks. Joining, as always, on the other side of the world, Captain Reese Downing. Reese, what's going on?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
As you can guess, probably pretty good. Kind of shocked the world this weekend. It was the talk of the weekend. For once, my team was on the right side of it, which hasn't happened a lot last year.
Yeah, we'll talk about it here in a bit, but I think you guys have found a little bit better of a situation than you did last year for sure.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, week one's week one. We can take what it was. Obviously, as you watch TV, the overreactions are just insane right now. But
yeah.
So a little recap of last week. Both of us did hit our locks. I had Buffalo. Reese had South Carolina. That does take us to 4-0 on the year on our locks. Off to a great start there. So some of the big news, like we were just talking about last week, 4 top 10 teams lost. Number 1, Texas lost to Ohio State 14-7. Number 8, Alabama lost to unranked Florida State 31-17. Number 4, Clemson lost to number 9, LSU 17-10. And number 6, Notre Dame lost to number 10, Miami 27-24. Before we get into that, I do want to play this in regards to the LSU Clemson game.
It's like getting the final exam day one of class. They made a 65, we made a 58. Neither one of us were great.
We dominated him in the second half. So he's either a really good grader for, giving himself a 58, or he's a really hard grader on us, or he didn't see the second half, which that might be the case. He might not have wanted to see the second half. So, again, look, this is all like, past.
Perfect.
Yes.
Two
Beautiful.
coaches I can't stand going at each other.
That was great.
What was your reaction to the weekend, Reese, and to the Dabo LSU battle there?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think it's a little bit of a misleading stat to make too much of the 4 top 10 teams lose, because 3 of those were top 10 matchups, right? So we knew that 3 of them were going to lose. Just a couple notes I have on those games. Arch Manning looked rough against the Buckeyes defense. Patricia kept him pretty much under control throughout the game. You could tell he was a little flustered. Almost impossible for him to live up to the hype that he's been given by the media just because of his last name, but we're going to need to see him improve greatly if they're going to get to the national championship, which is where I picked them to start the season. Leprechaun, just talking there, finally got lucky in the season opener, got a big win against a team that struggles in season openers at times in Clemson. I think both of these teams are still going to be in the picture towards the end of the season, but that was a fun game to watch. Carson Beck played better than I expected against Notre Dame's defense, but Miami's defense, I think, was really the shining star of that game. They've got some serious speed on the outside that could cause some problems for some teams. My guess is this is also probably going to be Notre Dame's only loss of the season. We'll still figure that out. And then we're going to jump into this, I'm sure, here in a second. We kind of teased it a little bit, but congrats to Florida State with the big win against Bama. I do think, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit, I think the buzz around the contract buyouts and DeBoer's, like just the whole narrative that's going on right now around him is pretty ridiculous when he's only been there for a year. I also don't think Florida State's getting enough credit for this win. Tommy C looked like a massive upgrade from DJU from last year. I think it's clear that Norville's got some really solid coordinators around him, and he's not going to let what happened last year happen this year. So I think the Noles came to play this season. I'm glad to see him in the top 25 and looking forward to seeing how that rolls out over the course of the season. But my quick thoughts there on those 4 top 10 matchups.
Yeah, and that was one of the things last week that I said when we were previewing the Alabama-Florida State game. It was like, we don't know what we're getting here. We got new coordinators, a brand new team, like literally everything was brand new pretty much. So it's hard to judge a team, kind of like the North Carolina thing. Like North Carolina has like 70 new players and a whole new coaching staff. Like you don't know what you're going to get with that. So, I mean, it's part of what college football is now. And another thing too is we talked last week about how a lot of these schools have brand new quarterbacks, with the exception like Clemson and LSU. Yeah, they brought theirs back, but a lot of the other schools were brand new quarterbacks, and we saw that. Like, yeah, did Arch Manning play good? No. Did Julian Sayin play good? No,
not really.
It was 14-7. Like, no one was lighting up the earth here, obviously. What was the other? Notre Dame, brand new quarterback. I mean, he wasn't that outstanding either. Beck obviously is a player that has had success before. I wouldn't say he was even like world beating. Like, I mean, yeah, he threw a touchdown pass to win, but I don't know. I don't know. I think we've got a long way to go before we see what college football is going to be this year, just because there's so much change. And I'm not too big on the overreaction of 1 week. Like, yeah, Florida State had a huge win. Great. But preseason polls, I say this quite a bit, should never exist. Like, we shouldn't even, until the very first, around the time they pull out that first week of the college football playoff ranking, really is about the time we should start getting polls. But unfortunately, we know that that's not going to happen. But
right. Yeah.
Another coach battle, as we just saw the Dabo Brian Kelly thing. Mike Gundy and Dan Lanning, Oklahoma State is going to be playing Oregon this weekend. I actually just read something right before we started to even add to this, but just to give you a little backstory on this, ahead of Oklahoma State's game at Oregon, Mike Gundy claimed that Oregon spent $40 million on their roster and said they should schedule non-conference games in their financial weight class. All right. Well, here's Dan Lanning's reaction to that.
How much there may be a disparity between these programs.
Yeah, it sounds like there is, listening to him talk. Like I said, I got a ton of respect for Coach Gundy. Ultimately, how blessed are we to be in a place that's invested in winning? If you want to be a top 10 team in college football, you better be invested in winning. And we spend to win. Some people save to have an excuse for why they don't, right? And ultimately, like, he's a great coach. They've done an unbelievable job, but I want to be a team that's competing at the highest level. And we're really fortunate to be in that situation. So I can't speak on their situation. I have no idea, what they got in their pockets over there. I'm sure UT Martin maybe didn't have as much as them last week, and they played. So
it's a perfect ending there on the UT Martin drop. And also, Mike Gundy has just came out about an hour ago and said that he's considering having the team put tape over the Nike logos on their jersey this week.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah, the man that had the team with QR codes first is now the same one trying to do this. Like,
yeah, the whole thing is silly. Yeah, Oregon's got a lot of NIL money. There's a lot of teams spending a lot of money. It's now part of the course in college football. What do you expect Oregon to do? Not spend money to win a national championship? Oklahoma State also had a shit ton of talent on that team last year, and they did not play well at all. So I think, respectfully, Gundy needs to worry less about what the Ducks are spending and worry more about how he's going to retain his job if he doesn't turn this program around this year. Because if I'm Oklahoma State, they're a Big 12, like they're a solid team in a solid university in a solid conference. Like, they can't have another season like they did last year. And he's got less talent on his team this year than he did last year. So
yeah, and that's one of the things. Like last year, we kind of went into the season in our preview. We were talking about Ole Miss and we were talking about Oklahoma State, how it was like their do or die years for teams that traditionally shit the bed. Well, they still shit the bed. And my thing is, I mean, when we talk about the Big 12, we say pretty much every week, just take the home team. The home team's probably going to win. All of these teams are good. Oklahoma State's not one of those teams. Like,
no, they're not.
Out of the Big 12, there's like 4 teams I would say probably aren't in the same realm, and they're one of them, which is crazy because they were perennial one of the better teams every year.
Just 2 years ago.
I'm shocked Gundy honestly has his job still. Like, and this year doesn't look promising for him either. So this might be the end of Gundy at Oklahoma State, and it's probably a much needed change, to be honest, because I don't know what they're doing there. Obviously, if he's complaining about funds, they're not spending money. And in a conference where we know Texas Tech's throwing billions everywhere. So they're just going to fall further and further behind.
Yeah.
Next, so last night, Labor Day night, we did have the debut of Bill Belichick for the University of North Carolina. Stars were everywhere. Michael Jordan, Mia Hamm, Lawrence Taylor, Julius Peppers, Eric Church, Chase Rice, Blake Snell, Roy Williams, Randy Moss. They even had a little pregame game day thing with Saban and Teddy Bruschi. Pat McAfee was there. Like, really blew it up. And I mean, the place was on fire. They came out, first drive of the game, right down the field, scored. The place was going crazy. And that's about where it ended. That drive actually reminded me so much of last year because Florida State opened the year in Ireland against Georgia Tech. And we went right down their ass and scored on the first drive, dominated them. And that was the end of the season. That kind of seems like what we might be in for here. I will say once Gio Lopez got hurt and Max Johnson came in, they did have a little bit more signs of life on their offense, but Max Johnson's also been in college football for like 7 years, so that's probably why. But Reese, just what overall reaction did you have? I mean, we were both pretty high on TCU going into the game anyway, just because we thought they were a much better team, and they're not having 95 new players on the team either. But what did you take away from last night in Old Chapel Bill? Yep.
That's pretty much it. I mean, listen, let's not. Oh, now we're getting hit with the old repeat music there. Let's not overreact, right? It's game 1, year 1. The Tar Heels looked good on the first couple drives, and then the Horned Frogs turned it on. We talked in the preview show about TCU is going to be a tough team to beat this year. Media outlets are grasping at straws, though, to compare Bill's NFL stats to this game, and it's silly. He's a hard-nosed coach. It's going to take time for them to implement the system. They've got a lot of new players. There was a lot of pressure on that Tar Heel team to come out and perform really well last night, and I think it caught up to them. I mean, they're not one of the top 25 teams in the league this year, but they're getting the coverage like they are one of the top 5 teams in the league. And I know it's because of Bill, but I know this happens every single season, but it's just crazy to me. Like, we hit this, we're 2 weeks into the season, and there's all these massive overreactions that are happening. Like, Bill's going to have a solid program. He's a good football coach. It takes more than one game to get that done. So, like, don't look too much into it. Now, I also don't like a lot of the shit that came out from TCU after the game, because they were celebrating like they won the national championship. Like, act like you've been there before. TCU is a better football program right now to me than North Carolina is. But you look in some of the videos and some of the commentary that was happening after the fact. Like, I know some of that was because of all the juice that was happening with UNC, but the whole stuff, it's just all kind of ridiculous to me.
Well, yeah, they were. I mean, they even came out and were like, in the previews of the games, like in the promotions, they weren't even talking about like they didn't even mention TCU. Like, it was like Bill Belichick's first game at UNC. Like, yeah. So I can kind of understand where they're pissed off. But the thing that kind of takes me back to this was Deion's first year at Colorado is very similar to what this is. Like, well, this might be worse because they had names, at least, with Travis Hunter and
Deion
Shedeur,
had more. I think Deion had more talent on his team.
Yeah, but well, talent's loosely based on that. But yeah, the same thing though. But yeah, we'll see what happens as the season goes on with North Carolina. They do have a fairly, I think we mentioned this in one of the pre-shows, but their ACC schedule is actually pretty easy. I think Clemson's the only like good ACC team that they actually play. So
yeah,
you never know how the season's going to end up, but yeah, off to a sloppy start for sure. And I believe they play Charlotte this week. Sadly, Biff's not there with the cutoff anymore, but that would have been a coach's wardrobe matchup.
Yeah, the wardrobe bowl. Yeah.
And to finish off the news and notes here, Lee Corso, it was his final game day. He did go 6-0 for a perfect record in his final picks, and every team that he was associated with did win this week also. It was the most watched episode of College Game Day ever. He was known for his iconic headgear picks since the tradition began in 1996. 30 years of headgear picks. It's kind of crazy to think. Overall, he finished with a 287 and 144 record. Pretty solid. And I'll miss Corso. It was always fun. It takes you back to the childhood of game day in the morning. And it's one of the better things to do with college football. Everyone always associates that when you think of college football.
Yeah, I feel like the way that he went out was very poetic, going 6-0 in his final picks, especially with the teams he's been associated with. One hell of a career. It's going to be odd, honestly, turning game day on Saturdays and not seeing his big ass grin and getting the headgear on. I don't know if they're going to adopt that from somebody else. I feel like Pat might be somebody that will try to do some sort of headgear something because he's pretty goofy. But yeah, Corso came out, came out with blazing in the tux and everything. It was a good final show for him. Kudos to Corso. I hope he enjoys the sunset years, and hopefully it's not the last that we see of him, but I know this is the last game day. So
yeah, I'm really hoping what would be awesome is Florida State, Miami here in a few weeks is in Doak. And I'm guessing if things continue how we are, we should have a primetime night game. I'd like to see Corso get to plant the spear in that one. I think that would be awesome.
That would be pretty sweet. I don't know if they're going to be able to let him ride out on the horse, though.
Well, yeah, I don't think he'd be doing that. But
Maybe he can light the spear.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
All right, so plays of the week. This first one, this is not even a play. I was watching a game, and I don't know how this ended up on television, but it did, and it became kind of an internet thing very quickly because it was like, what in the hell is this? Be proud, Michigan State, that you have this guy representing you. Yes, the hot dog sensation from Michigan State. I know there was no sound on that, but it was just a old man just plowing a whole hot dog into his mouth, and his wife just sitting beside him in shock, pretty much.
Well, I'd rather see the glizzy in the mouth than the burrito up the ass. So
look at the face, like that's he's really into that. Yeah, he's really into that.
Must have been a good hot dog.
Something. Next, USF. Let's go into USF versus Boise State. It was the beginning of the week and one of the first upsets of the week.
Who's going to break through at some point? Fake! He's got him! What a call! Singleton! Balls! Touchdown! They snuck.
So USF snuck their backup quarterback in at punter. Boise State did not notice it at all. Dropped a nice surprise fake punt touchdown pass. And that was early in the game, too. It kind of got the momentum rolling for their huge upset as they wiped the floor with Boise State.
Yeah, one thing, love those USF jerseys. Those jerseys are sick. I hope we see those again this year. Two, that threw me off because I was like, that punter just threw a dart. Like, that was a tight ass spiral. And then I realized that they had the backup quarterback in. I was like, okay, it makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, that was a hell of a play.
So last week we featured Brad Maynard's son with quite the punt that he dropped. We've got another punt coming this week. I know apparently plays of the week are going to be big special teams plays, but this is crazy.
Went for 46 yards. Tees it up, lets it rip. A deep boomer of a punt. Still bouncing.
That's how you flip the field.
There is a flag out as Tulsa downs it inside the 10-yard line.
So because of the way it's measured, it was only an 80-yard punt, but he kicked that from the goal line to the 10. So technically it was 90 yards.
Yeah.
It just registered as 80 that was Angus Davies for Tulsa, dropping an absolute bomb there.
That's what you get when your name is Angus.
Yeah, I know. You got to do something. Another special teams play, Iowa State. Field goal kickers setting records here.
So it's the longest in Iowa State history. It's the longest in Jack Trice Stadium history.
And it had a little bit more to go, Tim.
Did it ever?
63 yards. Field goal kicking's getting crazy. Like,
I know.
I feel
Well,
like
we
there's
just
no
saw
limit
that
at this point.
I know. We just saw that quote unquote a kick in the preseason of the NFL that was basically a record breaker, but it doesn't count because it was preseason.
What was it? It was like 70 or something.
70,
it was
70 or something like that. It was crazy. Yeah, I'm sure Pat McAfee's loving all this.
Yeah. And then one last play of the week. This is the one everyone saw. Miami. First, let me give some props, as you'll see in this video. Talk a lot of shit about Miami's crowd. For once, they actually had a home crowd. Everyone was there, and it didn't actually seem like even a 50-50 Notre Dame crowd. Like, it seemed like Miami had the advantage here. And this catch really set the fucking stadium on fire.
Team total. Under pressure off his back foot. Up for grabs. And caught. C.J. Daniels. A tremendous one-handed catch.
Yeah, C.J. Daniels right before halftime with a one-handed touchdown to put him up 7.5. That was insane. I wish Notre Dame safety would have just tried to make a play on the ball because he probably would have knocked it out, but he just stood there, and that's what
hell
happens.
of a throw, hell of a catch. You know, I think we talked about this just before we signed on, and I mentioned it when we were watching the game. Miami's crowd Like, I don't know if this is a sign of things to come this season or if it's just because it was Notre Dame, but they showed out and you heard it in the stadium. They had the I was watching the ESPN broadcast, so when they went to commercial, they just showed the stadium, right?
Yeah.
So they show you and that place was packed and they were raucous pretty much the entire game. So it was a good one.
Yeah, it's not a sign of things to come. I can promise you that. They do that occasionally during the season. With Florida State being at Tallahassee this year, I'll be surprised if it's like that at all again. I do know that USF goes there, I think, either next week or two. USF has one hell of a schedule because, no, they play Florida this week, so it's next week. USF started the season with Boise State, at Florida, and at Miami. Like, that's ridiculous. So,
yeah.
I do know that, and that's still a decent game. USF's a good team, but I guarantee there's no one at that game. All right, so that's going to wrap up that. We're going to get into our picks for week 2. East Texas A&M will be traveling to number 14 Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida, Saturday at noon on the ACC Network. This is one of many games this week that do not have lines, so we will not be picking it. It's kind of what we get into this week and a couple of the other weeks of the season where some good teams are playing some really shitty teams, so this tends to happen. If a line does ever appear, we will pick it later in the week. San Jose State is going on the road to number 7, Texas. Texas is a 36.5-point favorite at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas. 51.5 over/under Saturday at noon on ABC.
Yeah, easy bounce back for Texas after giving up a tough one at the shoe. Texas has covered their last 2 regular season games after losses. Sark does pretty well at home against non-conference teams. So I'm going to go with Texas here, minus the points.
Yeah, San Jose State, I talked about at the beginning of the year how they're not that bad of a team, but they did come out and lay a little bit of an egg in their first game. So I'm real hesitant here. And with Texas coming off the loss, I would think that they would come out trying to put on quite a performance here. So I'm going to be on Texas too. The airport, Florida International is going on the road to number 2, Penn State. Penn State's 41.5-point favorite at Beaver Stadium, University Park, Pennsylvania. 54.5 over/under Saturday at noon on the Big Ten Network.
Yeah, Penn State looked decent in week 1, but they just struggle to cover these bigger spreads even at home. I think Penn State rolls here, but I'm going to take the airport and the points to keep it close enough.
Yeah, I flipped this week. I took Nevada last week against Penn State, and it took a last-second touchdown to cover. I'm going to go the other way this week. I'm going to take Penn State to go ahead and get the cover in this one. Number 11, Illinois is a 2.5-point favorite going on the road to Duke at Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. 50.5 over/under Saturday at noon on ESPN.
Yeah, line I've covered the last 5 since last year, 6 of the last 7 away from Champaign. So I'm going to take Illinois here, minus the points.
I'm actually on Duke in this one, and I like Duke straight up. I think they're going to win this one at home. Baylor going on the road to number 17, SMU. SMU is a 2.5-point favorite at Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas. 65.5 over/under Saturday at noon on the CW network.
No, I've been waiting on a CW game here. This should actually be one of the better games of the week in Old Southwest Conference rivalry. Baylor dropped one last week to Auburn, but we may have underestimated the War Eagles a bit with Jackson Arnold under center. Tough game, too, for Baylor. SMU did look pretty solid in week 1. I'm going to take the Pony team here with them being in Dallas.
Yeah, I'm on SMU as well. Yeah, Baylor, I expected a little more in that Auburn game. And Auburn had said they were going to play 3 quarterbacks and all this stuff. And Jackson Arnold played the whole game and absolutely dominated. So I don't know if it was so much it was just the way Auburn was or what. But SMU's offense usually is pretty good too. So I think they can handle the 2.5 in this one. Kennesaw State going on the road to number 23, IU. IU's a 35.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. 50.5 over/under Saturday at noon on the One for Fun.
The One for Fun. Kennesaw State almost got a W over Wake Forest last week. IU seems to struggle to cover these big spreads, as indicated in last week's game over ODU. I'm hesitant on this, but I'm going to take Kennesaw State in the points here. Keep it close enough.
Yeah, I think Old Dominion is typically a little bit of a better team than Kennesaw State. I like IU at home in this one, minus 35.5. Big rivalry game here. Iowa going on the road at number 16, Iowa State. Iowa State's 2.5-point favorite at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. 41.5 over/under Saturday at noon on Fox.
Interesting matchup here is Iowa State's won 2 of the last 3 Cyhawk games, but the road team has covered the last 4 and won outright the last 5. I don't think it's going to happen here, though. The Cyclones are a better team. I'm going to roll with Iowa State here, minus the points.
Yeah, I like what Iowa State's been doing so far, and I'm pretty big on them this year. I'm going to let them keep rolling. I'll take Iowa State minus 2.5 at home. Kent State going on the road to number 24 Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 48.5-point favorite at Jones AT&T Stadium in Lubbock, Texas. 58.5 over under Saturday at noon on TNT and HBO Max.
HBO Max, man. These networks just keep getting crazier every year. Texas Tech ran it up last week. Kent State barely beat Merrimack, so let's go Red Raiders here minus the points.
Yeah, Kent State's been one of the worst teams in football for about the last 4 years. 48.5 is a ton, but they might shut them out 55-0. So
yeah,
we'll take Texas Tech in this one. Utah State going on the road to number 19 Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 29.5-point favorite at Kyle Field in College Station, Texas. 54.5 over under Saturday at 12:45 on the SEC Network.
A&M's missed the cover in their last 6 and 9 of their last 11, and this is a pretty decent spread. I'm gonna roll with the Bucking Bronco to keep this one close enough. So I'm gonna take the U-Tags and the points.
Yeah, I know the points in this one does scare me. I'm gonna take A&M. I don't know. Utah State has over the last couple of years has not been what they were. So I don't know. This is a look ahead spot for A&M. I'm pretty sure next week they play Notre Dame, so they might not be too into scoring a ton, but I'm gonna stick with A&M regardless. Grambling and Ohio State does not have a line. That game will be Saturday at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network. Grambling. I can't believe Jesus. What a game. Troy is going on the road to number 8 Clemson. Clemson's a 33.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. 51.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on the ACC Network.
Yeah, Clemson typically bounces back after a loss. The Tigers put up 60 on App State last year after their week 1 loss. So I'm going to roll with the Tigers here minus the points.
Yeah, I'm on Clemson as well. Probably an absolute beatdown. I think Dabo is going to be in their ass all week.
Yeah.
Austin, another fantastic matchup. Austin Peay's going to be at Georgia. No line on this one Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. I mean, it's a great game when Georgia's not even getting TV coverage. Here's the one we talked about earlier. Oklahoma State going on the road to number 6 Oregon. Oregon's a 28.5-point favorite at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. 56.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on CBS.
Yeah, Oregon looked pretty good in their opener. The Cowboys didn't cover in their opener against UT Martin. I don't know what's going on with Oak State. We talked about this a little bit, but Gundy just gave Dan Lanning and that team extra juice. I'm rolling with the Quacks here minus the points easily.
Yeah, last year we featured quite a bit what Lanning does with weekly buildups and how he uses it to take it to the field to beat some ass. I think Gundy made a colossal mistake in this one. Oregon by 40. Number 20, Ole Miss is a 10.5-point favorite going on the road to Kentucky at Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky. 51.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on ABC.
Yeah, bet your ass Lane Kiffin has had this game circled after losing 20-17 last year to the Cats in Oxford. I'm going to go the Rebs here to roll into Kroger and run the grocery bill up.
Yep, same way. I'm on Ole Miss also. I don't think Kentucky's quite as good as they were the last couple of years either. No line on this one. East Tennessee State's going on the road to number 22 Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. This will be Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. USF is going on the road to number 13 Florida. Florida is a 17.5-point favorite at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, Florida. 53.5 over under Saturday at 4:15 on the SEC Network.
Gators have covered 4 straight in the swamp. They've been covering spreads as of late. Could be a bit of a trap against the Bulls as they're going to be riding a big win against the Broncos last week, but I'm going to take the Gators here minus the points.
Yeah, I like USF in this one. I'll take them with the points. I think 17.5 is too many. I think USF's offense definitely can keep them in this game. And Lagway, though they did play my Long Island Iced Teas last week, Lagway's QB rating still was not that good. I think it was under 100. So he's going to have to come out and prove it against USF this week. But I think Florida still wins, but I'll take USF to cover. The next 3 games, Cal Poly at number 25, Utah, Bethune-Cookman at number 5, Miami, and South Carolina State at number 10, South Carolina. We do not have lines on any of those. Those are all on ESPN Plus if you'd like to watch those. Number 12, Arizona State is a 6.5-point favorite going on the road to Mississippi State at Davis Wade Stadium in Stark Vegas. 58.5 Saturday at 7:30 on the Deuce.
Yeah, Dilly and the boys only got a touchdown win last year against the Bulldogs. Mississippi State has been covering spreads as of late, but I think the Sun Devils can get a touchdown plus win here. I'm going to take Arizona State minus the points.
Yeah, I'm on Arizona State too. I love this team this year. I was just watching practice where they got everyone's walking around with cowbells, just shaking them like crazy to interrupt their practice. So they're prepared for the situation they're going into. I think that they're going to roll in this one. La Tech is going on the road to number 3 LSU. LSU is a 37.5-point favorite at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the real Death Valley. 51.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus.
Yeah, Bulldogs played pretty well as the dog last year, but with OU being a 51.5, I just think LSU can get it done here. I'm going to take the Tigers here minus the points.
Yeah, I'm on LSU too. That defense looked for real last week against Clemson. I'm not sure La Tech's going to have much success against that defense. The only ranked matchup of the week, number 15, Michigan's going on the road to number 18, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 5.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. 46.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on ABC.
Yeah, tough matchup here for both teams. Bryce Underwood was underwhelming at home against New Mexico last week. I think Mateer looked really solid. I'm going to roll with the Sooners here minus the points to get the home win.
Yeah, I'm on Oklahoma also. I think Venables will have the defense really ready for a freshman quarterback. I think Oklahoma's overall just a better team at this point. Michigan's still got a lot to prove and a long way to go. But I do like Oklahoma at home in this one. UL Monroe is going on the road to number 21, Alabama. Alabama is a 37.5-point favorite at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. 50.5 over under Saturday at 7:45 on the SEC Network.
Yeah, I think Bama's going to come in here ready to lay the wood a bit after losing a tough game. 50.5 over under here, and then a 37.5. That gives UL Monroe a lot of points. I just don't see that happen. I'm going to take Bama.
Yeah, I'm on Bama also. I think it's got to be return to your home field, put on a show, get the fans happy again, show what Ty Simpson can really do. There is a little concern. Ryan Williams might be out for the game. He did have a concussion in the Florida State game. He got knocked out. So if Ryan Williams can play, we'll wait and see. But it really shouldn't matter against UL Monroe, to be honest. So Bama it is. So that's going to wrap up our top 25 picks. Moving to the Muncie 6-pack. JMU is going on the road to Louisville. Louisville's a 14.5-point favorite at L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. 57.5 over under Thursday at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. The Deuce giving us a little pregame for the Cowboys-Eagles game.
Yeah, Dukes have been covering non-conference games in their last 6, and this being a Thursday night lights game adds some more intrigue. I'm going to roll with JMU here in the points.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one quite a bit. The half is what I don't really like here, but I'm going to go with Louisville. I just think at home, I don't know. I like Louisville a little bit more this year. JMU the last couple of years obviously has been really good, but I'm not sure that they're at that same level this year, but we'll see how it is. And if the game was at JMU too, that'd be a little bit of a different story, I feel too. To me, this one's crazy. Kansas should be ranked, in my opinion. They didn't even get a single vote. I don't quite understand that. But Kansas is going on the road to Missouri. Missouri's a 6.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Columbia, Missouri. 50.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on the Deuce.
The old border war. Missouri typically plays well against the spread. They went undefeated at home last year. I'm going to go Tigers minus the points.
Yeah, I'm on Kansas in this one. I love them getting 6.5. That offense, I'm not sure Missouri can slow down that offense. It's obviously still, are we overreacting to what we've seen so far, or will it still continue? I think it's going to continue, so I like Kansas in this one. West Virginia is a 3.5-point favorite going on the road to Ohio at Peden Stadium in Athens, Ohio. 58.5 over under Saturday at 4 on ESPNU.
And Bobcats almost got a W against Rutgers last week. They've won 6 straight at home. I'm rolling with Coach Smith here in the Cats plus the points.
Yeah, I'm going the other way. I like West Virginia. I think that this is a real team for West Virginia this year. I like what Rich Rod's done so far. The quarterback's got some wheels. Ohio to me isn't even one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the MAC. So I'm kind of skeptical as why the line is so low. It is also interesting. West Virginia is on the road in this one. So I don't know. All signs to this point to kind of a trap, but I like West Virginia to go in and roll in this one. Western Kentucky is going on the road to Toledo. Toledo's a 6.5-point favorite at the Glass Bowl in Toledo, Ohio. 58.5 over under Saturday at 7 on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, Toppers are 5-1 in the last 6 against the spread in the regular season against FBS teams. So I'm going to roll with the Hill Boys here in the points.
Yeah, I'm on Western Kentucky too. I loved what the Abilene Christian duo brought in. And Toledo is one of the better MAC teams, like we talked about. I know that they didn't get it done last week against Kentucky like I thought they might, but I think Western Kentucky's offense is going to come in and give Toledo hell in this one. So I do like Western Kentucky to cover at least. Mighty Ball State is going on the road to face Auburn. Auburn's a 43.5-point favorite at Jordan Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama. 53.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on ESPNU.
Yeah, 43.5 over under, or excuse me, 53.5 over under, and only 43.5 in the point spread. I hope last week's game against Purdue isn't a preview of what the season's going to look like for Coach U. Auburn played really well against a tough opponent in Baylor. Chirps are struggling against the spread in non-conference road games. I'm begrudgingly taking the Tigers here minus the points.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had Ball State Purdue on because at noon it was I needed a game to turn on one of the other TVs, and I turned it on. And Purdue did things I didn't even think were possible, and Ball State just looked like shit. Kelly looked like shit. I think Jackson Arnold probably in the first half might have 200 yards rushing alone. I'm going to take Auburn to just kill them. Vandy is going on the road to Vautech. Vautech's a 1.5-point favorite at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia. 47.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on the ACC Network.
First pick here at the Pisser. I talked about this a little bit in the preview show. I am not big on drones. I don't think he looked that good last week against the Gamecocks either. I'm going to roll with Vandy in the points here.
Yep. Give me Diego Pavia outright to win this game. Last game, UCLA is a 2.5-point favorite going on the road to UNLV at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. 54.5 over under Saturday at 8 p.m. on the CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, Bruins didn't look anything like I thought they might look like in their opener against Utah, which scares me a bit in this game. With it being in Vegas, I'm going to roll with the Rebels here in the points.
Yeah, Nico was terrible. Utah looked very good in that game. And like I said last week in the preview, and I was like, there's going to be no one at this game. There was literally no one at that game. And everyone that was there was wearing red. It's an embarrassment, UCLA's program. I do think that they're okay in this one, though. I like UCLA to go in and cover the 2.5 against UNLV. Give Dan Mullen another ass kicking. All right, Reese. Time for the lock of the week.
Lock me in on Ole Miss over Kentucky with the Rebels getting a big win in Lexington.
My lock of the week is the rivalry game. Give me Iowa State minus 2.5 at home versus Iowa.
Never going to get tired of that. I wanted my dog this week to be Vandy, but they're minus points. So lock me in on the Ohio Bobcats plus 126 against West Virginia.
No country roads in Ohio. My dog of the week, Kansas at plus 180 going on the road to Missouri. So that is going to wrap up our week 2 picks episode for the Tuesday Night Touchdown podcast. We will be right back here very soon. It is time for week 1 NFL. We are now picking games for both leagues every week. I'm very excited for week 1 NFL. Reese, we got a lot to talk about because your team had quite the transaction this week. So NFL is going to be fun to talk about. So if you're listening live on YouTube right now, just join us here in a few minutes back for the NFL episode. If not, then download the NFL podcast when it comes out or watch on YouTube. For Reese Downing, I'm Jacob Workman. We will see you guys soon with NFL and next week for another college episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Cheers, guys.